I love art as objects. I love the way you approach it differently than you do like a utilitarian object, and I also love the way you approach like a utilitarian object and like how it like tells you how it wants to be used. And I feel like art has that same quality where there is like maybe not like a utilitarian purpose to it, but there's like something else about it that like it tells you what it wants to do and what it wants to be and where it wants to go, what it wants to be around.
I always have my other best friend here, the soccer ball, inseparable part of me. There's always that question like, what does the studio space mean to you? And I have the craziest idea of what a studio space means to me. And I always keep saying this, it's like, it is a playground. Although, when you think about it, the subject of my work is serious, it is something where I feel like having fun and humor has always been like a big part of what I do.
I like to explore psychology, different states of mind, a lot of emotions in my work, but I also like the sense of time and trying to portray time through a portrait and the different just states of mind that anyone can go through in a given time, and trying to put that into one piece. But looking at yourself constantly, you start seeing things.
At Temple University, the grad students went on strike in 2023. There's something about like a kind of willingness to take a risk, like for yourself, but also for someone that you basically don't know. And it's like kind of an intimacy that I can't really experience in other ways. It was very exhilarating and like intoxicating and like mind-blowing to be able to use the power of being on strike to like push back on it. Because if you were alone in that moment, you just wouldn't have the power to push back on it.
I knew that I wanted to do a series of photos that kind of highlighted Black queer past, present, and future. As you can see, a lot of the themes kind of connect, which was kind of like what I was going for, how like they're not as separate as you may think. I think a lot of queer people have had to challenge themselves to like find meaning outside of like what's been defined for them, and like to see how their connection to like being in this world and growing as like nature grows has impacted them.
I don't remember exactly what I titled that one, but it was something about I know it's hard to believe, but it's a good day. That has a lot to do with what it's like trying to deal with having really bad PTSD. I would be very happy if like some people liked it and thought it was cool. I guess that's pretty much what I want.
It is this idea that things can only go so far or move outside of boundaries so much, and then there's this other thing kind of always interrupting it. But it also, like, to me, always related back to our idea of, like, ecology, where so much of ecology and how we relate to environment is through finding ways of, like, mapping off, carving through spaces. And it's really bizarre because the minute we stop interacting with that space, the whole structure of that comes apart and is reclaimed.
Somehow the most uncertain aspect of what I do is that it has a physical form. There is a way that I feel like the things I make are sort of trying to disguise themselves as a main thing. Because I guess they want to be like trash on the street. Like that's really the ideal. Like every day I see something that's a 100% perfect sculpture on the street. So they want to be that, so they have to hide themselves or hide the fact that they were made. They didn't just appear in a beautiful way immediately.
I'm writing a book about the interspecies communication. I'm framing this whole project around the concept of species loneliness, which is the idea that humans have created a fully human-centered world, and because of that we've become like lonely for connection with other species. And so that's how I started thinking about cryptids. So it's like also I guess just having humility for the part of the spectrum that we experience, which is coded, and there's like a million different other ways to experience the world. I feel like art is this attempt to try to communicate in this really kind of pure way. You know, so sometimes it's like more the failure of a perfect communication that I'm interested in.
And it's glazing, or this idea of mixing colors or layers to push value.
And so I've done portraits where I don't have the person's face facing the audience. And I really liked those because it just sort of brings the viewer into the experience that the subject is having, as opposed to you, like the viewer, thinking this is someone who's like trying to engage with me or something. It's more like, oh, what are we looking at? What is over here that we're seeing? And then the other part of that agency with the subject in portraiture is communicating that this would be happening regardless of whatever the viewer's experience is.